Nothing happens in isolation, for everything we do has a long afterlife of consequences. From little things like what to wear, to what soda to drink with your lunch, to big things like career choices, to marriage partners, to which D4DJ unit we listen to the most. Our actions have meaning because they affect not only our behaviors, but influence others. In writing, world building is most vibrant when watching our protagonists influence the cultures around them. It shows us that their actions have real impact, especially when seeing the effects from a third-party perspective. The Arisugawa Student Council Chronicles tells a story of how the prestigious Arisugawa Academy has been irreversibly transformed by the Dig Delight Direct Drive DJ unit, Lyrical Lily. The story begins with Lyrical Lily's Haruna informing the audience of an unchanging tradition of Arisugawa. The ladies of this academy start their morning with a formal and elegant gokigenyo as a gesture to reflect their proper lady status. The audience quickly learns that Haruna is an unreliable narrator because she fails to have unicorns Hayate and Kokowa give the proper morning greeting after all that talk about its consistency. This only worsens when two of her close friends, Kurumi and Miko, also break tradition in their casual greetings to each other. Haruna is powerless to correct their behavior because since Lyrical Lily's inception, they have done nothing but break tradition, Haruna included. Her inability to discipline her friends is a symptom of the reality that she has been blindsided by her actions. Since Haruna is not going to be a reliable POV, we will need a fresh perspective for this story about Arisugawa Academy. How about we get the newly elected Student Council President, Ennouji Sakuya. Sakuya's introduction not only has her reprimand Haruna for her incompetence, but directly accuse Lyrical Lily for the disciplinary decline happening right in front of them. Unlike Haruna, she is aware that Arisugawa changed, and is not this beacon of idealism that was painted by the unreliable narrator. The case I made in Delicately Delightful is that Haruna is an agent of change with her fluid nature. From her perspective, none of these changes seem profound, as she treats them as moments in her internal monologues. Because she keeps doing this, it is easy to lose sight of the impact she actually has in the world she lives in. This is where the parallel of her character development and Arisugawa's cultural shift go hand in hand. The central idea of the Arisugawa Student Council Chronicles is to take that notion and re-internalize it with Sakuya. Between the info dump given by Kurumi and the Student Council Vice President Ayumi, the audience is given insight into Sakuya's backstory. She is a scion of a model student mother who became the head doctor of a prestigious hospital. Growing up, Sakuya herself was a model student with amazing grades. However, not much else is known about her, but that is not because of some sense of mystery surrounding her. She was a loner with no elaborate hobby. All we do know is that she has some sort of grudge against Haruna. Ayumi tells the audience flat out that this grudge stems from her envying Haruna's massive popularity. Sakuya's line about people flocking over to garner her attention suggests that she's become one of the most popular girls at their school, if not the most. Wait a sec. Haruna, the most popular girl at Arisugawa Academy? That can't be right. Why Haruna in particular? It's not like she alone changed its cultural landscape, as making a DJ unit was more Miyu's idea back in Road to D4 Fest, Lyrical Lily. Maybe it has something to do with Haruna becoming more approachable after the unit's founding.
物心ついた時から、私は他の子に一度も負けたことがなかった。大病院の跡継ぎである父を持ち、幼少より英才教育を受け、勉強でもスポーツでも一番の座を欲しいままにしてきた。もちろん、初等部の頃から生徒会長を務めてきたし、常に完璧な模範生徒であり続けたわ。それなのに。気づいた時には、私の周りではなく、春菜さんの周りに人が集まるようになっていた。
There is a wild side of Haruna lore that was touched upon to start a story, but is never really explored again since. In The White Corsage of Dearest Love, Haruna was an honorary member of the previous student council, as she assisted them in recording the meeting minutes. We don't know how she got this position, but it is safe to assume that members of that student council saw Haruna as reliable to take on this duty for them. They clearly trusted her as she had access to past student council documents, which is what kicked off the story. The freedom she is given suggests that she was not only on good terms with them, but they were likely her friends. This honorary status added on to how others viewed Haruna as a model student at their school, not only for her academics, but her adaptability. This talent is on display again in My Prince, as Haruna was approached by the school's drama club. We see that they highly admired her enough to cast her the lead role of their school play, despite having no acting experience, emphasizing that she is so popular that she doesn't even need it. With a little practice and some charisma, she kills that role with a super hot Juliet, further skyrocketing her popularity. Returning to the new student council, during a meeting, including new members Hitomi and Ryaru, Ayumi mentions that Haruna was nominated for the student council president position, but declined due to focusing on Lyrical Lily activities. This begs the question of why Haruna's nomination was never mentioned until now. Since Groovy Mix's sense of time is dubious at best, I can only propose a theory. My theory is that Arisugawa Student Council election occurred during side origin Lyrical Lily. Miyu narrates that it begins a few days after Abysmare's challenge to the Japanese units inside Nova, which means that it overlaps with the side origin Photon Maiden, when Yoba Academy was having their student council election. I am assuming that most Japanese high schools would have their student council election at roughly the same time of the year. However, since Lyrical Lily got caught up with the underground DJ scene, they were too busy to participate in any student council election. Ayumi further explains to Hitomi and Ryaru that Haruna's devotion to Lyrical Lily over student politics only increased her popularity with the overall student body. That fact, along with her acquaintance with the previous student council, suggests that if she were to square off against Sakuya, she would have easily won. This built an inferiority complex within Sakuya as her election was given to her instead of fairly being elected. Her remote relevance only exists as a consequence of Haruna's actions and inactions, fueling her need to prove herself against her. Sakuya devises a plan to ban DJ activities from Arisugawa Academy. On the surface, she appeals to the need of moral restoration as a response to DJ culture poisoning the students. She's not fooling anyone because it is obvious that this is merely a front of her real plan to socially shame Haruna by taking away the thing that made her popular. Her logic is that if Haruna can no longer do the thing that she is known for, then she will fade into obscurity, and as people stop flocking to her, she will be a washed-up has-been that Sakuya can claim victory over. However, this plan is incredibly stupid for two reasons. Reason number one is that banning DJ activities at their school does not mean Lyrical Lily would dissolve. They would simply restart the group as a separate entity outside of Arisugawa, and at that point, the school can't do anything about it. Between restoring two communities and appearing in 3 different D4 fests, gaining traction as an independent unit for them is not only possible, it would be easy. Students may not be as open about it, but they would still have immense support for Lyrical Lily, so at best, this does nothing in her goal to publicly shame Haruna. The second reason why her plan is a bad one is a lot more obvious, and that is the fact that she cannot stop Haruna's momentum. All the Lily would need to do is find another activity like acting, since the audience knows she is a fast learner and flexible to new things. Her known charisma combined with her resilience would only make her more popular. Then what would Sakuya do? Go after the acting department when they recruit her? What makes Sakuya's plan sillier is that she is aware that targeting DJ culture will make her unpopular. This so-called plan is doomed to backfire because once people pick up on all of this being about a personal grudge, her social standing will tank. We see this play out in real time as Hitomi quickly picks up on Sakuya's grudge and begins turning on her in befriending Unicord, leading up to confiding in Hayate, since the latter is such a good listener. Even though Hitomi did not intend on betraying Sakuya, it was an inevitability because Sakuya did not build her student council with the interests of others in mind, but only to fulfill her vice. This does not even amount to much as her interests are completely eclipsed by the middle of the Arisugawa Student Council Chronicles. By getting the Yoba Academy DJ units involved, it creates a buffer so large that Sakuya cannot make any move against Haruna. The Student Council's inaction during the middle section of the story emphasizes that Sakuya only really cared about discrediting Haruna as she shows little concern for actual DJ activity. When Photon Maiden Student Council President Nijima Ibuki calls Sakuya to initiate an exchange program to expose more of Arisugawa's student body to DJing, it becomes clear that Sakuya did not think anything through. If her plan was really to ban DJ culture, then allowing Yoba to expose more of the student body to it is counterproductive. Dismantling Haruna's fame becomes a distant pipe dream as students get into DJing, making her untouchable. Sakuya's aggression towards Haruna is an extension of her loss of identity. She struggles with coming to terms with the fact that Lyrical Lily irreversibly changed Arisugawa. Unlike the rest of the student body, she doesn't know how to live in this new world that transformed around her. In her backstory, the audience is told that she always believed that she had an image to live up to by being a model student like her mother. With the shifts in Arisugawa, she became confused, as if she didn't know how to measure her level of success. This leaves her conflicted, as throughout the second and third act, she is constantly asking herself if she is doing the right thing. On the surface, this is posed as if she is pondering a moral issue, but no moral issue is raised as she is not comparing it to actually anything. This ambiguity heightens her sense of confusion because she doesn't know what to do or even what to think. Sakuya's inability to process her situation emphasizes her struggle in finding agency. Having her behave this way turns her into a passive POV, leading her to be overshadowed by her supporting cast. Case in point, Hitomi becoming confident in her desires for DJing flows naturally and is fulfilling to watch unfold. Ayumi's role as the twist villain is blatantly obvious and is easy to follow her actions and motivations. And Ryaru's comic relief makes her stand out to the audience. Then, there is Sakuya, who ends up being dragged along for the ride, which may have some ironic humor that despite her high authority position, she has little agency in the story. On a meta level, she exists to embody the idea that Lyrical Lily's actions have real consequences, including making enemies, so everything she does is a response to that, and thus her motivation functions within that premise. However, Sakuya's agency feels weak as her sense of scale doesn't match up to other villains in D4DJ's narrative. The obvious culprit of this crime is Dr. Nova. For starters, he was given 2 volumes to be a fleshed out character. He's basically a comic book supervillain in creating an AI designed to suck people's minds into a collective consciousness, cranking up D4DJ's power economy to absurd levels. In the personal sphere, his relationship with his wife and daughter directly affects the music industry, and by extension, all the characters in this franchise. Even though he's been dead for years before the story proper, his villainous actions create the conflicts inside Nova and Crosby in wounding his daughter and nearly causing the AI apocalypse. A bad cynic Doggo's Amy is hostile towards Rinku, not only because Happy Around's underdog story generates envy from all the units that lost to them, but because she opposes Rinku ideologically. Amy's desire for recognition is not caused by Rinku, so she is not a reactionary character. Only the scope of her needing to prove herself changed with a personal grudge added, but her motivation is self-driven, thus making her a proactive villain. Sakuya, unfortunately, is no science fiction genius or ideological foil to have real villain treatment. Her scope of infamy is too small for her to be truly antagonistic. The Chronicles noticed this too and decided to pass the villain baton to the reliable childhood friend Ayumi. Unlike Sakuya, she takes initiative in enacting her plan to dismantle DJ culture through alumnus influence. Even her initial plan to ban DJing is hijacked, taking away her role as a heel. Her sense of agency continuously slips away until they come to a complete halt. Upon learning that Sakuya and Ayumi plan to ban DJ culture, despite how obvious they were in Act 1, Hitomi snitches on them to Hayakoko, who then gets Haruna involved. Haruna then confronts Sakuya, wanting to discuss her plot involving the alumni.
咲夜さん、あなた方は会長を抱き込んで一体何を企んでいらっしゃるのですか？抱き込むだなんて人聞きの悪い。それを言うなら、あなたたちこそ理事長を抱き込んでいるではありませんか。私たちは音楽を通した奉仕の心を理事長に認めていただいただけです。またそんな建前を。いえ、思えばあなたは昔からそうでしたね、春菜さん。鈍感で真面目なだけが取り柄のくせに、いつも周りの人間から目をかけられて。私が？何をおっしゃっていますの？周りから目をかけられていたのはあなたでは。まったく、やはり鈍感ですわね。そこが、そういうところが本当にイラつくのです。咲夜さん？あなたと私は違うのです。私には絶対手に入らないものをあなたは持っている。同じ教育を受け、同じように礼節を尊びながら、なぜこんなにも違いが。咲夜さん、正直私には咲夜さんが何をそこまで思い悩んでいるのかわかりません。ただ少し買いかぶりすぎているのではありませんか？もし私が周囲から目をかけられているとしたら、それはきっと咲夜さんほど頼りがいがないから。
Haruna's ignorant responses to Sakuya's grievances proves her point. She is confronted with the ramifications of Lyrical Lily's actions as they shook up their school's cultural landscape. She didn't consider how her social standings changed with Lyrical Lily's reputation, as she feels that status quo is maintained because she still mostly acts the same. Back in Act 1, when she introduces the audience to Arisugawa's culture, she treats it as unchanging, but it had changed a great deal because of her. Haruna doesn't notice the ramifications to that, as she assumes things are normal, but this is not the case. This confrontation reveals that this reality is catching up to her with Sakuya, who is purely motivated by envy directly caused by her actions. Haruna's continual denial of this infuriates Sakuya to the point that she resorts to physical violence, symbolizing her complete loss of agency, as the only thing she can do is smack somebody up.
あなたのそういうところが昔から大嫌いなのよ。何も分かってないくせに上から目線で優しさを押し付けて、その自信なさげなふりを見ているとイライラするわ。本当は心の中で私のことを嘲笑っているくせに。何をするのよ。おっしゃる通り、私は何も分かっておりませんわ。だって、咲夜さんは何も話してくれませんでしたもの。何も話さないくせに、周りに理解してほしいだなんて。そんな身勝手な話がありますか？分かってるわよ、そんなこと。全部分かってる。でも、だからこそイラつくの。私がこんな風に思っているすぐそばで、あなたはいつもお友達と楽しそうに笑っていた。何の苦労もなく、当たり前みたいに。リリカルリリーを組んで、他の生徒もみんな夢中になって。そんな姿を見せつけられて、苛立たないはずないでしょ？だから、DJ 文化を排除しようというのですか？結局、私のことが気に入らないから、 あなたにとってアリス川学院の伝統など、どうでもよかったということですか？そうよ。それの何が悪いの？見損ないましたわ、咲夜さん。私は、あなたのことをとても尊敬していましたのに。うるさい！よくもやりましたわね！
Haruna tries to give the friendship is magic advice in talking out her problems, but clearly Sakuya didn't hit her hard enough because she doesn't quite understand what she's done. Sakuya's outburst is her frustration that they are not on the same social status, and Haruna trying to say otherwise only angers her further. There is indeed a class difference between them, and as Haruna becomes more popular, the gap between them widens, leaving Sakuya in the dust. The world did change. The bar for normality moved with it, and as a consequence, people like Sakuya were left behind. Haruna calls out Sakuya's pettiness, but what choice did she have? Why would she be concerned with Arisugawa's traditions when they have abandoned her in getting with the times under Lyrical Lily's influence? After going several rounds and letting out enough steam, Sakuya concedes to the fact that she is powerless to change anything. She couldn't change people's perception of Haruna. She couldn't change Arisugawa back to the way it used to be. She can't stop Ayumi with her plan to ban DJ culture. The Arisugawa Student Council Chronicles proceeds to remind everyone that this is ultimately a Lyrical Lily story, as Haruna organizes the rest of Arisugawa Academy to save their DJing passion, and with the headmaster's help, they expand permission beyond Lyrical Lily, making DJing accessible to everyone. With everything resolved, Haruna narrates that Arisugawa's tradition remains the same despite how much she has changed it, disregarding how her actions do in fact have real consequences, leaving people like Sakuya in the byline as the main characters move forward to their next story arcs. Before the story ends, there's one final plot twist that Sakuya has to deal with. After Lyrical Lily saves Arisugawa's DJ culture, Ayumi disappears from the scene. Sakuya, Hitomi, and Ryaru search for her, finding her in her apartment alone. The audience is given Ayumi's backstory of how she was abandoned by her parents. This caused her to latch onto Sakuya with obsessive devotion, which is why she was fanatical in the sabotaging Haruna plan. When Sakuya betrayed her own goal and retracted the proposal to ban DJ culture, Ayumi had an emotional meltdown as she took it as Sakuya forsaking their friendship. There is the final confrontation where Ayumi attempts committing suicide, believing her life has lost all meaning, and Sakuya is forced to face the consequences of her actions.
待って、あなたのお父様は外交官で、お母様は確か外資系企業社長の一人娘よね。あなたも子供の頃からエリート一家の娘として一目置かれていたじゃない。なのに、どうして？
お父様は私が生まれてすぐに海外の出張先で愛人を作って、家に帰ってこなくなったのよ。お母様も私をベビーシッターに預けたまま、出落ちしてしまったし。
嘘でしょ、あゆみ。だって、そんなこと、私に一度も。
The scene is problematic because it tries to make it look like this is Sakuya's fault. It is supposed to play at a thematic reversal on her character, from being motivated by Haruna's actions to dealing with how her actions affect others. Ayumi explains that it was Sakuya's high expectations and valuing social standings that led her to lie about her family. The story tries to paint this as Sakuya forcing her to lie about her parentage just to be accepted. There are two problems with this. The first is that the obsession with social standing and high lady status is within Arisugawa's system, not Sakuya personally. One can replace Sakuya with anyone and Ayumi would get the same result, which leads to the second problem. Ayumi building their friendship on a lie is not a sustainable plan. Eventually, Sakuya would find out. To be fair, Ayumi may feel as if she had no alternative, but this was guaranteed to backfire.
捕まえたわよ、あゆみ。
手を離して、さくやちゃん。
いいえ、絶対に離さないわ。あゆみ、あなたと私は二人で一つなのよ。お互いの穴を埋め合うことでしか生きられないわ。
そんなの傷の舐め合いでしかないわ。
お互いにつけた傷だもの。責任取って治るまで舐め合うしかないんじゃない？
後悔するわよ、さくやちゃん。
させてみなさい。
To add salt to the wound, this projection only makes Sakuya look worse, as even Ayumi, who has this unhealthy zeal for her, thinks she's a crappy person. Then the story has the audacity to have Sakuya claim responsibility for Ayumi's pain, like any of this is her fault. It's not because of a cheating father, a vengeful mother, or an impotent school unable to help an orphan that Ayumi suffers. None of them need to take responsibility for her, but Sakuya does, which is unjust because there is no reason she should bear any guilt. Sakuya did nothing wrong, and it honestly hurts watching the writers bully her like this. I have nothing but sympathy for her as she is subjugated to the Chronicle's chronic abuse. The main theme of this story is the notion of how actions have consequences. Lyrical Lily, changing Arisugawa Academy, created Sakuya. Her characterization is meant to show that no matter how good their intentions are, there will always be those who are negatively affected by them. The story goes too far in punching down that Sakuya is not much of a villain and is more of a victim. Throughout the story, she has always been on the receiving end of the negative effects of others. At first, this was with Haruna's growing popularity, making her envious, which, while petty, was legitimate. However, the turn with her feeling guilty about Ayumi's lies took me out of the immersion, as Sakuya is depicted as a comical dipshit by no fault of her own. She is at the mercy of others, and putting any blame on her is wrong. It is an injustice that she is treated this way, and I hope that when the Arisugawa Student Council return to make that inevitable DJ unit, they won't do her so dirty next time.
ごきげんよう。ごきげんよう。
ごきげんよう。ごきげんようなの。
ごきげんようの挨拶。それは、アリスガー学院の開校以来、変わらない伝統。ここには、日々の挨拶にも伝統が息づいている。時代が変わっても、それは変わることなく